You're good to go.
Good evening. We're just going to go to do the roll call first. Find out who's here. Sarah Masinski is absent, as well as Trustee Robinson, excused absences. Since I have the mic, Bridget Pryor, President.
Jare Gauze, Vice President.
Paige Barnum, Vice President Finance.
Andrea West, Secretary.
Trustee Jennifer Marlowe.
Trustee Paige Allen. Trustee Mary Rush.
For comment. An agenda, has anyone any questions in regarding the minutes? Yeah.
I just had a quick question on one of the programming lines. Maya Sklarski didn't have a note, so just wondering what that program was.
Right, it's my mistake. I meant to put something in that line. I can tell you momentarily, though. It's two programs, jewelry workshops in April and May.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we just make sure we're speaking to the mic? You can go ahead and
Okay. All right, so, moving on to. So is there, any other discussion regarding the, consent agenda? So, yes, Trustee West?
So just for clarity, this is Trustee West. Does the money goes for the supplies for whatever particular program there is?
Sometimes it's supplies, sometimes it's also preparation. And it kind of depends on the program, but yeah. If it's a jewelry program, it's likely that any additional would be for supplies.
So I guess my other question is, do any funds actually get paid out to the individual that is facilitating or running the program?
Yeah, usually that's part of the arrangement. But it depends on the presenter and which organization they're from, and it's usually a negotiation by the head of programs and partnerships.
Anyone like to make a motion? Oh, other question?
I just had a question. What was the training on the second page, second line item down for Sturdivant? It said training and travel. I was just wondering what that was.
Sure. Danielle Sturdivant is the person that we've contracted with for Staff Development Day. She is the head of Living Autism Out Loud, which is a local autism advocacy organization, autism, I should say, information and advocacy organization. And part of the focus of our Staff Development Day is services to people with autism, in particular, people of color with autism.
And just one more line item. It's about third way down, the corporate payment systems, the IT program and training supply. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, those are our staff credit cards, procurement cards, actually. We have a number of supervisors that have those, so every month, it's all paid on one check. Variety of different expenses, are being charged to these cards every month, so that's why you see 4 different, budget categories listed there.
Okay, so it's not, this is just the credit card payment itself. This is not gonna go into some of the other line, like it is always gonna appear like this, just as one payment there to the credit card, and it's,
Yeah, it's just the one check, written to the, this company. So yeah, it's always just listed on the one line. It's, we haven't, broken out exactly how much is, being assigned to each budget.
thank you.
Any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion to accept the agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda. Barnum.
Second, trustee Marlowe.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Good evening. The reports included in the agenda cover February 2025, which was 67% of the way through our 2025 fiscal year. Support and revenue overall were in line with the modified budget. Expenditures continue to trend slightly over the modified budget, with payroll and related costs along with the occupancy costs were the largest categories over budget on a dollar basis.
Okay, and just a couple quick notes. Our national grid bills, in February totaled 21,000 compared to 16,000 last February, a 31% increase. And the average salary expense per pay period in February was 194,000 compared to 172,000 February of last year, 13% increase. If you have any questions on any of the documents within the section, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you.
We just do the memo, but we're happy to answer questions on the reports if anyone has any.
I do have a question, sorry. Because we're going over all the documents within the treasurer's report and finance, and I'm correct. So my question is, in light of national monetary and finance concerns with the market, what are your projections as far as our investment activity?
It's a great question.
Can just, as far as projections, I mean, we just.
So I'm looking at it right now, and there's no big issues right now, but do we anticipate that our ROI is going to be less now? If it's going to tank? And are there any plans in place to make sure that we're paying close attention, given that the market is highly likely for the market will not only fluctuate, but I don't want to say plumbing because that sounds hard, but head south.
Well, we don't invest anything in the stock market. We're investing in T-bills, which are backed by the US government. So.
There's so much more confidence now.
I mean, it's the safest thing we can invest in at this point. As far as where interest rates would go, I mean, your guess is as good as I think anyone else's here, where they would head.
But I guess that my real question is anyone keeping an eye on it just in case? Is anyone keeping an eye on executive orders just in case something does affect those T-bills?
Absolutely. it's absolutely our responsibility to keep an eye on executive orders and how they might affect the library or are affecting us. It's something that I'm definitely paying close attention to.
Thank you.
Discussions regarding the finance reports. Um, Going down to committee and liaison reports. Any trustees want to report out?
I can start. I attended the Cana event on the 13th of March upstairs here at Washington Avenue. It was all about immigration. There was an excellent full panel of people who are active in the city, actively thinking about these situations we're facing as a community and how to deal with them very intelligently and compassionately, and to do right by people. So I was very glad to be here for that. I attended both of the trustee info sessions that trustee Mazinski led as the nominating committee chair, and we had pretty good turnout at both, really good turnout and a lot of questions at the Pine Hills, the second session that we had. So it's very promising for our upcoming election. And last week, I attended the Firehouses of Albany event. Tony Opalka, who is the city historian, wrote a book all about the Firehouses of Albany, and he gave a really cool presentation that went like all the way back to Albany's beginning as being Fort Orange, and it was just a fun time. That's also at mine.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of things. Like Trustee Rush, I also attended the trustee information sessions and the firehouse talk. I just want to sort of, draw particular attention to staff member Jim Davies, who always puts together amazing history programs. This library talk had well over 50 folks in attendance on a kind of cool, rainy weeknight. And even there's just some, Jim Davies also, I think, is an integral contributor to the success of Tony's book. With some library and like fellow library connections that exist on the other side of the country, California, that Jim helped sort of like preserve a piece of history and brought it to Tony. He's like, I know a guy who's going to be really interested in this article that fell out of a book in California. So that was just, I think, a really special, nice event. And also another event in the sort of history vein was the history of Negro League baseball talk that was, I think, a really special opportunity for us to host sort of like the premier historian of Black baseball history in America, the co-founder of the League Museum there in Kansas City, Phil Dixon. And so really brought to life this particular sports history story and also contextualized it in the Capital District, drawing a lot of connections between some really significant history around Black players in America and the amazing record they have and their connections to upstate New York. So it's a cool program.
Unfortunately, during the school year, most of my event going time is to children's programming, but I'll report out on a couple of those. So my son has been doing the library science events at Pine Hills. There was did like a forensics and like code creating and code cracking. And then they've just did one on eggs and eggshells that he did. And he's also been attending the virtual book club for young people, which Sarah Stanwicks from Washington Ave and John from Pine Hills have been hosting and guiding these young people through book club discussions, which is a lot of fun to listen to. And he's really been enjoying that. So.
Just a note, Excel Walker was one of the persons that used, well, he was in the Negro Leagues. Think it's a street named after him as well.
Yeah, it was, one of the things that was a big takeaway for me is, sort of as you move through a built environment, you see, street names and park names, and you often overlook the names. But he drew particular attention to a player who there's a whole park named after in Schenectady, and was sort of a figure who was kind of lost to history. And actually the next day, Phil Dixon had brought soil from this player's hometown in Kansas to New York State to sort of like draw a connection from where he grew up and where he ended up in life. And Frank Wickware, I believe, is his name. So there's a whole park, and it's buried out in one of Schenectady's historic cemeteries. So very like heartfelt, personal program.
Yeah, nice, very nice. Any other trustees? All right, nominating committee report. Anyone who's not other than, okay.
Yeah, so our last nominating committee, we spent most of the time developing our questions for the candidate forum on May 6th. As Mary and Paige pointed out, we had two information sessions, one at Howe and one at Pine Hills, that were both really well attended. And thanks to all of the trustees who turned out to talk to folks and answer questions and be there as a presence. So we're looking forward to seeing how many candidates we get this year, and hearing what they have to say at the candidate forum on May 6th. I think we have some exciting questions to ask them.
It's two seats up for, it's two seats, correct? Okay. Policy and governance.
Yesterday evening, we had a P&G committee meeting, a lot of discussion. We end up going through 4 policies, making some recommendations to the board, which we'll discuss and hopefully vote on some of those later at the end of new business. And I do have physical copies of each of the policies referenced as well, if anybody needs that, and a physical copy of the minutes as well. Everything we propose is pretty simple, so it shouldn't really take too long as far as in addition to the agenda. But of course, any questions, further discussion, that'll be later on. Thank you.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, Sarah's not here for any upcoming meetings. Executive committee will meet on April 30th at 6 at the Arbor Hill Branch.
Yeah, and the following evening, May 1st, Audit and Finance will be in a meeting at the Washington Avenue branch at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Director's report.
All right. I want to start just by acknowledging the fact that we have seen a welcome downward trend in incidents, which is a really positive development we certainly don't take for granted. I also want to speak to some revenue, or I should say some cost saving measures that we've taken recently that I want to share. So first, we heard from the Division of Library Development about our projected award amount on the Washington Avenue main roof replacement project that we're approaching. We received confirmation that we will receive an 89% award, which is close to the maximum that we can receive, which is 90%, and that figure could change as unused funds across the state are allocated, which would come much later, but welcome. We're also moving away from our current credit card processor to a new processor. So that's going to result in some significant savings on transaction fees. We do the majority of our transactions to sell or refill Navigator passes. So I want to thank Adam Stump, our Director of Finance, and our IT manager, Jim Pell, for working together with me to investigate the options and really fast track that change, because the sooner the better. And I'll speak more on that a little bit later when we get to the CDTA contract rules. I also wanted to shout out the candidate information sessions. Great to see so many trustees come out for those, sitting trustees. And also wonderful to see a bunch of really excited candidates, or hopeful candidates, let's say. Moving down to the safety section, I do want to acknowledge that Safety Matt contacted County Legislator Dr. McLaughlin to investigate our options for acquiring automated external defibrillators, or AEDs, for our locations. And I'm happy to say that she invited us to submit a grant application for those AEDs. And we're hopeful that that is a change that we can make this coming quarter, depending on how quickly that's reviewed. Moving down to community engagement, we have lots of great events coming up that are called out in the featured April program section of my report. But under community engagement, I wanted to call out the quarterly meeting on the Rensselaer Volunteer Administrators Network at the Blake Annex, which our head of community engagement attended and learned all about United to Volunteer, which is an online platform used to recruit volunteers that's hosted by United Way. And that's what we've identified as the main place that we're going to be advertising our volunteer opportunities at APL, because it's such a powerful platform already. So you can look forward to seeing our volunteer posts there and on our website. Under programs and partnerships, the highlight, I think, was our visit from the interim commission for the New York State Tax Department. She visited Washington Avenue to highlight the success of our tax preparation program this year. And that's really cool, because she looks at the entire state and all of the organizations that help with tax preparation at sites. And we were identified as pretty much the best. So we saw a lot of appointments made and kept, and a lot of appreciation for our ability to host those tax preparation programs that a lot of people use. And just proud of our staff for coordinating that, making it happen each year, this year especially. Highlights under branch services. I want to call out our West Hill, who held 10 pre-K to second grade classes, 10 different classes within that range from Albany International Academy, and issued 88 library cards to these young students, which is a really great number for a single month of class visits. At Bach, we hosted the SUNY Albany women's basketball team, our superstars, and that was an incredibly popular program. I might have mentioned that one last month because it was coming up, but I just can't stop crowing about that program. It was really cool. At Delaware, new branch manager did have to communities tables, and she had free books and bookmarks and swag, and interacted with 40 students and their parents, which is an outreach opportunity for especially a new branch manager who's getting to know the neighborhood and their Delaware area. At How, we continue to host Stitch Exchange volunteers, and coordinator there, that's at Upstitch, coordinates volunteer sewing instructors who are new to the US and interested in sharing their skills. So it really is a program that brings together a beautiful combination of skill training, skill building, I should say, and in multiple areas, both in knitting and in spoken English, which is pretty amazing. At North Albany, we continue to plan programs, but not see great attendance at those programs. So it's something that we should look at, especially when it comes time to evaluate our investment across APL programming, staff time. It's an area of concern for me. I think it's a morale drain to continue to plan these great programs that see very little turnout for, despite having promoted the programs the same way. any other branch programs and heavily. So that said, I do want to acknowledge that we had a popular Team Friday. I'm not sure exactly what consistent flow of attendees, what that actual number is, but it's great for those who do come to be able to learn about Albany Medical Center and the services that are available, and that's good news. Pine Hills, our storytime attendance has nearly tripled from last March. And our Saturday story time is slightly more popular than Tuesday with according to those Saturday story times. On social media, we announced our fabulous new Egg Presents Performance Pass. A lot of positive attention. We also comment card from a 5-year-old named Maeve, who'd really like to see more cupcakes in the library, which also got a lot of positive attention. It was
Not her
a sweet
cupcakes.
post. She-
Never brought her some.
That's excellent. And I also, speaking of the Egg Presents Pass, want to call out the CMS team because they really worked closely. Our collections management services team worked really closely with the Egg team to make this pass happen. So, and I also want to acknowledge Trustee Allen for putting me in touch with the Egg director in the first place. So we're moving and shaking with this new pass. And I know that they're going to go dark this summer because they're doing some construction. They have a big capital project, but this is a really great period of time to evaluate how this pass is going. And hopefully when they reopen, we can look to expand the pass and have these passes available at all of our branches, not just Washington Avenue. And I also wanted to call out the Digital Museum Pass Working Group. We're looking at moving our museum passes to a digital platform, which would make museum passes reservable on specific dates, which would be amazing. Because right now, it's kind of first come, first serve, or you can reserve a pass, but not on a specific day. So this would be a real positive change for people who want to plan in advance to go to Mass MoCA on a set weekend, 2 months from now, or what have you. So we're really looking forward to making that change and adopting the ASFED platform, which is in use by several other libraries in Upper Hudson. Under HR, Arena and the National Party Planning Committee have done a great job planning fun activities all week long for Spirit Week, for National Library Week. And I also want to acknowledge that today is National Library Worker Day. Right here it says the 10th, but it's actually today. So do want to acknowledge our library workers, and shared an email earlier today with them. Email is such a lame, lame format for acknowledging just how much you appreciate the whole staff, but you gotta start with something. So I think our library workers always appreciate hearing from trustees how much you appreciate them. And I just wanted to take a moment to share that it's Library Workers Appreciation Day. Finally, under IT, you'll be seeing a list next month at next month's meeting of about 350 devices that are taken out of service and are going to be resold for some revenue. And so that's a normal course of operations for the library. It's just been a while since we actually decommissioned IT devices, but they're taking up a lot of space in our basement. That's what tends to happen. They accumulate, and then we submit a whole decommission list to the board. And then we're able to basically work with a buyback vendor to get what we can from that resale. So you'll see that list next month. Thank you. All right. So having spoken a little bit about North Albany attendance, it was the only branch to see an overall year-to-date increase in circulation, which is a net positive for North Albany. Arbor Hill, West Hill, Pine Hills, and North Albany all saw increases in circulation transactions as well. So that's, again, the difference that Melanie pointed out last month, where circulation is strict library materials through Sierra, our integrated library service, system, I should say. And circulation transactions is literally all the things that we transact at the desk. I want to call out, even though it doesn't appear in the statistics report, our Sora numbers. Are you all familiar with what Sora is? It's basically a digital content platform that the schools have and share with students. And all of the content through that platform comes from Upper Hudson's e-content collection. So all the digital content that is available to students through Sora comes essentially from the Upper Hudson Library System. And the library teachers and library aides and librarians at schools have been doing a great job promoting Sora circulations in first quarter of this calendar year with 310 compared to 60 in Q1 last year. Is that the right calendar year? Thanks, Melanie. Melanie pulls the Sora numbers, so. We also saw the highest March increase since 2020. More line of what we see in our busier summer months. Moving on to door count, and again, that's still a separate report in your packet. So we're continuing to account for the change that we made in how people are counted who come through our doors. And I want to call out the fact that Arbor Hill West Hill numbers nearly match what we were seeing pre-2020, which is a good sign for the rest of the library. Room use continues steady rise. Pine Hills doubling pre-pandemic numbers, and then programming was also up at Bach and West Hill. Bach being at numbers not seen since 2017, so that's good news. Yes.
It's interesting that computer use is up when we're having people now need to have a card, and that's not negatively impacting it. That sounds good.
Yeah, there are so many variables that go into how, what makes people come to the library more or less to use computers. And I think the weather helps. I think that, just having the support for the access helps too. It's just, yeah, thanks for noting that. Any other questions?
I just had a quick question about the the Sora. So that's different than Hoopla in the sense that Sora is exclusively content that's from APL and
Sora is content from Overdrive.
okay. And
Yeah.
it's just you're able to use your library card to access their
Actually, students don't even have to use their library card. It's just a
Okay.
platform they access through school. So I think they have a login that's given to them by their teacher, and they access the Overdrive collection through their Sora app. Your son probably knows about Sora,
yeah.
possibly. Awesome. It's represented with a rocket ship. So if you say, the program with the rocket ship, he might.
Yeah, so many different ones, because Libby is one too.
Libby, Libby is the adult version, basically. It's, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Oh,
The non-school kid version, and the much more widely known platform for digital content. But yeah, same exact pool of content.
And then I feel like the schools have been doing a lot with Hoopla as well, but I thought I needed my library card to
That
do
is
that
true.
one. That is true. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
And I didn't know that, so that's good to know. They're promoting Hoopla.
Yeah.
any other questions regarding the monthly statistical report? Oh, actually unfinished. We don't have any ACAP on business.
Yeah, so this is a bummer for APL, and basically we've rented space in this building on the third floor to the Head Start daycare program for the last 8 years, and it's been a great partnership by all accounts, and they've been very happy here. But due to some financial constraints that they are facing as an organization, they had to take a hard look at all of their locations and they have decided to eliminate the location on the third floor here at Washington Avenue. So they're not going to be renewing the lease that ends in October 2025. And that will, of course, have a resulting impact on our projected fund balance use for fiscal 25-26. So they are paying rent through the end of the lease, which cuts into part of fiscal 26, which means that our projected deficit will increase by 26,000 roughly, instead of by the full amount of 39,000 that they typically pay us in a full year. So going forward, 7, unless and until we find a new tenant for that space. Absorbing.
What might a good tenant look like? I'm not familiar with the space itself, so I'm not sure what it would be suited for besides children.
We are approaching an analysis of that. I'm not ready to say, our ideal tenant is another daycare. I don't think that's actually true. I think that we might see that space is well suited to a small nonprofit, or there are many possibilities, but I will look forward to working with the board to develop some kind of plan to advertise the space, because that's kind of the next step. I don't even know the first thing about working with like a realtor to kind of advertise a space like that. It's a very unique situation, and it's not a situation that a lot of libraries face, but we do have extra space at this building. So we will be exploring our options. And that might be a task well suited to the facilities committee and or the audit and finance.
Trustee West?
A quick question. So was there any opportunity to meet with them to determine what could be done for them to stay? Or is it better for them not to stay?
Well, we wanted them to stay. And when I met with the representative, I asked if there was any possibility of them staying and whether there was anything that we could do to help them stay. And it was a pretty unequivocal, no, this is really about ACAP finances.
Right. So was there any type of, so did they give you their bottom line to see, okay, how are we able to adjust and come closer to their bottom line so that we're not losing so much money?
That was not, it wasn't something that they had any appetite for discussing. It sounded like the cuts have to be pretty drastic on their side, and it's tied in with, well, my understanding is that it's tied in with the salary increases that were mandated for ACAP workers as a result of some legislation that passed last year.
And how many rooms do they use?
It's maybe four rooms on the third floor and some bathroom space and some storage space. 2 large rooms and an office. Yeah. But I would be happy to give the board a tour of the space if you'd like that opportunity when we get closer to plan of action. All right, so this agreement has been it's been adjusted in a couple ways. Well, actually, one significant way. Instead of a 4.5% commission, we were getting an increase to that, and it's going up to a 5% commission. Part of what I discussed with the business manager at CDTA is the fact that our processing fees have gone way up, and that the Navigator passes account for the majority of our transactions at the circulation desk. So with that in mind, they saw fit to increase this commission. And at the same time, I knew that we were pursuing a different credit card processor that would, between the commission and the credit card processing fees, would put us in black again, essentially. Like, we had been starting to lose money on this deal. And so with these two new changes, we're going to be hopefully recouping that and then seeing some profit. And it's not a huge amount of profit, but this program had been profitable for the library at one time. And we are one of the larger locations that sells Navigator passes. So we're now in line with the commission that they paid price jump.
Sorry. So I read it fast, but I do not remember. So do employees get a discount on the passes?
You might be thinking of universal access, which is actually a separate item that we're going to be discussing tonight.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, your question was, yes,
Do employees get a discount?
they actually get free Navigator passes. So we have an agreement with CDTA where we subsidize the Navigator passes.
So we get 5% commission on sales
Mhm.
for anyone that we sell.
Mhm.
And then our employees get free passes, free monthly passes, and free use of the bikes.
I think it is for use of the bikes for commuting. No, bikes are not included. It's discounted, sorry. But we will be going through all of those details in the universal access agreement that comes in a couple of items. Thank you.
Down to the cycle amendment.
Well, actually, I think, yeah.
Motion to accept the amended CDTA Navigator sales agreement for the renewed team. For the renewed term.
I move to accept the amended CDTA Navigator Sales Agreement for a renewed term.
Trustee West, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Next, we'll be going to the CDTA cycle agreement.
All right, so this is the agreement that that basically gives CDTA space to store all of their bikes and scooters in the garage, or excuse me, in the basement here at Washington Avenue. We recently allocated some extra square footage to them. So before it was more like 5,400 or no 50. What was it? It was 5,000 square feet and now it's 50 square feet. And the other change that we made to this agreement,
Getting less than 26,000 before.
yes, it was, 1 sec. It was 24,180 in the previous contract. And the other change was a change to the term of the lease, which is now 2 years plus 1 year instead of 3 years.
So they're getting how much more square footage?
About 400 square feet more.
111.
Well, it was 5,006. So I guess,
Close to 5,411.
yeah.
Any other questions regarding the agreement?
Um,
I'm just curious what percentage of the storage space that is.
It's the majority of the basement storage area.
And it doesn't negatively impact your ability to store anything else.
No, we still have a good amount of square footage in the basement. And we had been storing a lot of broken furniture down there and old files that were way past document retention. Actually, we're still working on getting rid of those, but in any event, we have plenty of storage space for library needs.
Yeah, we see them after 8 o'clock. We have to go through the basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other discussion? Make a motion to accept the amendment.
Trustee Rush, I move to accept the CDTA cycle agreement.
Alan, I second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstaining.
Abstained. One abstention. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. All right, now to the CDTA Universal Access Agreement.
Okay, so this is the agreement that we have with CDTA to basically allow CDTA route network access to employees for the purpose of commuting to the library. And it also includes cycle access at a discount. Let's see. Cycle access is billed at 0.4 cents per minute cycles. Yep.
Does the 10,000, do we get close to that?
I have a report that we could pull up on that. I think Adam though has it more handy.
Yeah, lately we pay about roughly 8,000 a year. It's broken.
And we do need to take a look at there's a possibility that CSEA provides navigator passes for all CSEA members. I'm not sure whether that is actually in place. This agreement has been in place for I don't know how many years, but we're going to look into that because it might be a way to save some money. So yeah, this is a straightforward renewal and there are no changes to this particular agreement.
So when you look into it, it might affect this agreement, is what it sounds like?
Yes, but CDTA is a good partner to us, and I don't anticipate any penalty if we ever want to make a change to this agreement after we make it.
Is it 10,000 a year or 10,000 for the 3 years?
It's 10,000 a year. And it's, yeah, a 3-year agreement.
Okay, that's nice. Do you have a lot of employees that take advantage of the the North Expressway?
I don't know about that particular line, but CDTA definitely, yes.
Any further discussion? Anyone like to make a motion to accept the CDTA Universal Access Agreement?
Trustee Rush, I move to accept the CDTA universal access agreement.
Alan, I second.
All in favor? Aye.
One abstention.
One abstention. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we got a lot of CDTA, the drive agreement.
So we don't have this one yet from CDTA and we'll have to table it until we do.
Okay. All right, moving on. The quarterly strategic plan update.
Sure. So last time I gave you a quarterly update, I had a fancy PowerPoint and this time I do not. So I'm going to be directing your attention to the implementation grid. I do have highlighted some progress that I'd like to call out in each of the categories, but because we had so much to get through tonight and there's still a community report that calls out a lot of the same highlights that we would be calling out in the strategic plan anyway, I wanted to just mention the tactics that we've made particularly positive progress on so far. And for the folks watching at home, this implementation grid is part of the meeting materials that you can see if you go to the leadership page of the APL website and then look at agendas and minutes. It'll take you to Board Docs. Board Docs is the platform that the board uses, and it holds all of the materials for each of our meetings. So under the community engagement goal, I wanted to call out under engagement through outreach programming, services, materials, and space, our equity challenge goal to identify a barrier to people using our library and the steps that we would take to remove the barrier. So we have been meeting regularly with UAlbany, and we've come to a plan that will allow UAlbany students to borrow from our collections and vice versa, reciprocal lending plan that's now, I think, close to being codified in our borrowing guidelines on our website. So I'd be happy to share more information about that. And hopefully we'll have a way to announce that more widely soon. But Gianna DiCarlo, our head of services, has been working well with all the folks at UAlbany to make that happen in a way that doesn't complicate it too much with our two different integrated library systems, which would present a lot of technical barriers. So we've made it simple. Under tactic F, under the same objective, we have an equity challenge item to basically convey that parents are welcome to breastfeed in the library. And we developed some signage and placed it at all of our branches so that staff and patrons know that all parents who need to breastfeed can do so in our library spaces. So pleased that we were able to satisfy that tactic. It was an easy one to do, and it sends the right message to all of the new moms and dads out there. Under objective 2, develop, maintain, and regularly evaluate strategic partnerships. We sent our head of community engagement to the Leadership Capital Region program of the Capital Region Chamber of Commerce. This is the program that I completed last year, and she has been having great experience with this program, and she's almost completely done with all the scheduled program sessions. And if you'd like to learn more about the initiative that they've developed, they're building a community garden, and I'm really proud to support her in the whole class's efforts to make that community garden happen. Under the same objective, we have an equity challenge goal to collaborate with an institution to ensure library services for those unable to visit the library in person. And consequently, we've been promoting the Upper Hudson Library System's book by mail delivery service, which delivers large print materials to people who are homebound, either temporarily or so. And we're hoping to expand that work with some assisted living centers later this year. And finally, under objective 3, are happy to say that we've now logged volunteer hours for this fiscal year. I think we've logged between volunteer and internship hours, over 200 actually. So that's all credit to new head of, she's not so new anymore, our head of community engagement and her team of one, our volunteer coordinator, Aubrey Slatterprice. So I want to give her credit, give her team credit for creating that career pipeline. Under our DEIA goal, call out areas of progress. One is under strengthening recruitment, retention, development, and training practices to ensure that staff reflects the diverse community that we serve. We been striving to make sure that our digital equity program to Albany housing residents continues. And actually, as I'm reading this, this is not in the right area at all. This should actually be under aligning current policies and procedures with DEIA values. So my apologies for miscategorizing that. But as I mentioned last month, we did get we secured that grant from Chewy Foundation through the Friends and Foundation and ensured that we have at least the rest of this calendar year accounted for and supported. And the other DEIA goal that I wanted to call out is under Objective 4, ensuring that programs, presenters, and materials reflect the diversity and interests of the community. We partnered with RISE together to offer bilingual story times. Actually, we put another note on this one last week, but we happy to say that we're going to be continuing that in 2025. Plans to offer more Spanish, Pashto, Karen bilingual story times. Under our workforce goal, I have two highlights for you. One is under establishing competitive salary, or excuse me, developing recruitment strategies to increase diversity APL staff. So Tactic B, develop and integrate volunteer programs, strengthening community partner ties, excuse me. We have those volunteer hours logged, but even more exciting, and this will come up later in the sustainability goal as well. But we had a library equity fellow several years ago, and she had a positive experience here. She moved on, and now she's back. She came back to APL, and now she works here at the Washington Avenue branch as a part-time clerk. And we're really happy that that library equity fellowship actually came to fruition in the sense that that was the great hope with that program. And now we actually have someone on the payroll who went through that program, which sadly had to end, but it's great that we got at least one fellow back and among our ranks. We're also currently promoting our participation in the summer youth employment program, and our branch managers work with their needs for summer youth teens from that program. So looking forward to hosting a number of them this summer. Finally, under our sustainability goal, we received word from DLD that our funds for the new Washington Avenue main roof project been approved. And again, we're looking forward to getting the full 90% at some point, but we're very happy to have the 89% award. I just want to thank Upper Hudson and thank DLD for supporting that important project for the health of this building. Under developing a long-term financial plan, we are continuing to pursue those new sources of revenue and savings. We're actually bringing an item to the executive committee later this month about potentially transitioning our the board documents from this platform to a different, to basically Microsoft Office 365. So there's a lot more to come on that, but that could actually save us. We do need to find all the savings. So looking forward to sharing more about that with you. And we're also meeting with Audit and Finance soon, developing the 5-year financial. That concludes strategic plan Q3 report highlights. But I think is there any questions that you have about tactics that we've been progressing? And again, yeah, the progress is noted, or the place where we are with the project is noted with full text. So as you go through the implementation plan stages are the assigned staff, planning stage, the implementation stage,
Just going back to the first one that you mentioned about the reciprocal lending with University at Albany. So would that mean, you know, us as patrons here at APL will be able to go to university libraries and borrow, check out, and take home items?
yes, from their circulating collections.
Will we need to bring them back to U Albany, or will we be able to return them?
They would need to be brought back to you, Albany, but we would love to figure out a way to arrange a delivery service. It's not part of our Upper Hudson agreement to have you, Albany, in the mix there, but that would be a great goal for the future.
I had a question about the employee survey, the staff survey. I know you give yourself 12 months to act on it, so we're technically a quarter of the way through, right? It is on the calendar year.
It's Well, it's a year from the results of the survey. So I guess, looking at February to February, but
Okay.
we do have a staff development day coming up in April, and that's a golden opportunity to address the concerns that came up and the questions that came up during the staff engagement survey. And that's what I intend to do.
Okay. And do you have other plans to address, like, when will you address the concerns just directly at meetings, or what does that process look like?
Well, sometimes it happens in staff meetings. So we're looking forward to organizing a labor management meeting to address some of the contractual related concern. There were some questions that came up that showed that we have room for improvement when it comes to communicating what's in the contract and how it relates to what happens with scheduling or time off or what have you. So there are a whole slew of items that came up related to contractual issues that really the Labor Management Committee was well suited to address. And then there were other easier things to address, looking ahead to Staff Development Day, putting more focus on services that we provide rather than the constant focus on safety that's taken over Staff Development Day for the last several years. So, there are a host of other items that have come up through the staff engagement survey that we addressed as a leadership team to figure out how to route them, basically, because we've got meetings that happen on every level. There's circulation interest group. Circulation processing group. Excuse me, circulation process group, which consists of clerks, and there's branch meetings that happen, and there are readers advisory meetings that happen, and there are all of these different committees, staff committees that exist that we can funnel various concerns and address various concerns through. So I can't really call to the list right now, but there are so many ways that we can help. And a lot of it is repeating the same information over and over again, because you can't take for granted that if you say it once, Staff Development Day, it's going to be locked in for all time.
Right.
So,
And then, so you'll judge progress then again at the next staff survey, or is there anything that happens in between?
it's mainly we're looking at the next staff survey. I mean, that's the beauty of the survey. It's the same questions. So if we see, and there's always open-ended opportunity as well. So if we see that the same questions are coming up in the open-ended, section, next year, as came up this year, we'll know that we did not do a good job of addressing those questions, or that there are so many new staff who don't have those answers yet that, but hopefully we'll get to a point where we don't see the same repeat questions.
Other questions? Thank you for that report. We'll be moving down to the community report.
All right, so this is the report that I provide to all the neighborhood associations across the land, and I'm really looking forward to getting out there and meeting with people. It's one thing to, to know what our key statistics are and know what our story is for the year, but it's another thing to take it out into community and talk to people about the budget and answer questions about the budget, about all of the things going on in the library. So really excited to share this report with you tonight as sort of a first run. Okay. All right, so we start with cover page, which features an adorable summer reader receiving her summer reading t-shirt. So we always like to call out what's been noteworthy in the last year, and last year we have a lot to share that's really positive in terms of our growth as a library and our progress in our strategic plan goals. So early literacy programs here are going really, really well. We saw a 15% attendance increase at Growing Readers programs in 2024. And that represents basically 10,587 kids and caregivers coming out for just over 500 programs that were dedicated to early literacy. Yeah, good. All right. APL is definitely the place to be when it comes to programs. We had an overall 24% increase in program attendance, which is a really strong increase for us. And you may remember we did, and this is more for the crowds at the neighborhood association meetings than for you, the board, because you of course do remember that we changed service hours in 2023 so that we could offer more consistent weekend programs for working families. There are so many factors that go into an increase in program attendance, but that 24% bump, some of it has got to be down to the increase in weekend program attendance that we've seen in the last year. Our circulation is also up. We had a total of around 524,000 items circulate. That's both physical and digital items, but the circulation increase as a whole was definitely helped by a 20% increase in downloadable ebook and audiobook use. So overall, we saw a 2% increase in circulation of all formats together, which is not enormous, but the 20% increase just for downloadable items is considerable. And it really signals that we should continue to invest in that area as much as we can. Some key statistics from 2024. We had a visitor increase as well, 515,000 visitors coming through our doors. Attendance at most branches held steady or increased, and Pine Hills saw the biggest increase of 21%. We also saw double the use of our Albany-made Creative Lab space last year. This is the makerspace, of course, that we have here at Washington Avenue. And that was helped enormously by a grant that came through from the Bender Family Foundation and the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library. So the Friends and Foundation have a great grant writer that works for them right now, and she basically brought this grant in, and it was an $8,000 grant, and it totally changed everything about what we were able to do in the makerspace. We were able to open more hours, and we were able to offer more programs. So we hosted 153 STEAM programs in 2024, and we had an attendance of 2006 library kids and adults at those programs. And in 2023, by comparison, we saw half that attendance. So seriously, huge difference made by that amazing grant. Computer use and Wi-Fi sessions also increased by 26% in 2024. And we've seen healthy increases each year for the past 2 years, which really does show that there's still a digital divide in Albany, as much as people would be surprised to hear it. And we, the library, are still a great equalizer and access provider with respect to the digital divide, because we provide tethered PCs and Chromebooks at all of our locations, and they are most often available when people need them, although we could use more computers here at Washington Avenue for sure. Our museum pass program is also going strong with 1,400 passes borrowed this past year, which is a 5% increase over 2023. And I know I've been talking about it almost every month, but our meeting room and study room spaces are in constant demand. For the second year in a row, we're seeing 20% increase meeting and study room use. And that represents study rooms having been booked 10,000 times and meeting rooms booked 72 times. Looking ahead, we are continuing to explore partnerships for our Museum Pass program and in general for programming and all kinds of things. I spoke last month about our new partnership with the Albany Institute for Art and History, because they've got a new education manager over there. She and our staff are working together to drum up some new programming for this coming year. And as we shared earlier through the ED report, an APL card is now people's tickets to Albany Symphony Orchestra, as well as Egg Presents performances, which we're really excited about. Under Growing Readers, I just want to again call out the fact that early literacy, early childhood literacy is so important to promote and continue to promote relentlessly to the community. Growing Readers equals growing educated citizens, growing educated voters, growing educated people in our community. And early literacy is truly the foundation to success in all academic areas. So we will never stop investing in this program and expanding this program of growing readers. We will need to refresh it from time to time, as we did this past year. Whoops, skipped around a little bit by accident, sorry. We continue work on the equity challenge. It's a 3-year challenge. So we started in 2024, but we're going to keep on rolling and keep on adding equity challenge items to our strategic plans. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and access work is fundamental in the library, and we will never stop doing it. It's work that libraries have done for decades, and with this equity challenge, we also get a $4,000 maximum grant from Upper Hudson, which is incentive we don't need. We do the work because it's work worth doing, but it's nice to have that extra to support additional improvements for diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. Strengthening social infrastructure is something that we always commit to year over year. We believe in building a stronger, more compassionate, safer community through the innovative programs that we have for residents of all ages. And I look forward to sharing a slide in a couple slides to call out some of our upcoming events. But yeah, we work hard to make sure that the community has options and that the community has options to meet one another, to understand someone else's perspective, to learn something new about the community. With all of our new focus on local history, that's even more of an initiative than it has been in recent years. So I want to acknowledge that the community expressed a desire to see more local history programming through the survey and more programming for like hands-on arts and crafts for kids and people of all ages. So we're really putting our money where it comes to supporting those types of programs for the community. And finally, we'll be approaching a new long-range plan, and that's another item that I'll be working with the executive committee on. But our current plan was meant to last through the end of 2025. We're going to be looking to extend that to the end of fiscal 25 so that we can start the new plan in line with the new fiscal year. So that's what you don't even know per se, but I am going to be sharing that we're going to be adopting and developing a strategic plan. So, looking ahead. Budget news, you all know, but for budget, we are looking for a 5% increase to the operating budget for the library, which is under the New York State tax cap. And this increase addresses rising costs and unanticipated loss in non-tax revenue. I think, I'm going to not go too much into the complexities of pilot payments when I go out to neighborhood associations, but I think it's important for people to know, bottom line, we're not receiving $200,000 that we expected to receive in pilot payments for the next fiscal year. And, some people will know what pilot payments are, but I think that's important to call out. In addition to the New York State retirement contributions that have gone up. So we always share the average home assessment in the city, and that's around 250,000. So we like to call out the impact, of course, because people need to know. So all of the impact ranges are also available on our website, and I'll also carry that information out to the neighborhood associations and share those impact sheets as well. So also be speaking about the 2 open seats that are available and all the people need to vote to run for those seats. And all of that was covered, earlier by the nominating committee report, but and by the trustee info sessions that you all can see the PowerPoint slides for online, but those are also available to the public. We'll cover all that good information about trustee election and budget. finally, what's coming up? We've got some fabulous programs coming up. We're continuing the Buy Nothing Community Giveaway series that we've been hosting at our West Hill, which is a great turnout. People really like to share free stuff with each other. We also have we have a student art show as a partnership with City School District. 12 elementary schools share beautiful artwork and it's running through April 25th. The artwork can be viewed at West Hill in Delaware during art hours. The presentations are now coming up at Delaware. We've got Jazz Appreciation Month concert in Pine Hills on the 26th. Capital Region Fire Fair, which is always a huge event here at Washington Avenue, on the 26th, and Visual Box Workshop. Pine Hills and Washington. That concludes the community report for 2024. And I always like to share my contact information with our neighborhood associations so that everyone knows how to find me, ask questions, follow up with any concerns that they have. So that's, I'll stop sharing the screen and yeah.
Will you be handing anything out at the neighborhood association meetings, physical?
I'll be bringing the trustee candidate info packets for anyone who's interested, at least until, the community reports and the neighborhood association events extend way beyond the deadline for those, but I'll bring them to all of the ones that lead up to that. And I'll have the impact sheets available for people, but generally we don't have printouts of the community report unless it's requested by the president of the NA.
I'm wondering if it would be worth doing just like a quarter sheet little thing that has just like ways to use your library, because there's great info in here. And there's probably things that some people in the community are not going to even be aware of they can do at the library. I'm thinking like the museum passes in particular. And then if there was maybe a QR code that links just to this on the back, people may take them, people may not, but at least it's not going in one ear and out the other. And then they're like, oh, there was something at the library. I can't remember what it was. This might actually bring people in if they physically take something.
Thank you.
Especially for older.
It's good for everybody. Absolutely.
Just on the lines with that, adding the SUNY information, the reciprocal partnership that's going to be going into effect. So that would be
Of interest. Yeah.
of interest, definitely.
In terms of other things to call out, I just know how popular the New York Times stuff is.
Oh, yeah.
And also like you got the guy from Wicked on a virtual author talk, like just in terms of easy PR type things, I would maybe call those things out.
Thank you. Great suggestions.
Any other discussion on the community report? Thank you. It's happening here at APL. It's a great day at APL. I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda to reflect on P&G's report. So
I think it's
there.
there. I think it's there.
no, add it to new business. So that, because she's gonna go, the chair is going to go into more detailed about the information that she has, so the changes of the policies.
Thank you, President Pryor. Trustee Marlowe, did you want to present any of the policies? Do you need a copy of any of, I have the hard copies. Okay, no problem. If anyone needs.
I'll take.
Right. So this is a hard copy of the minutes and these. How many people so more? Is there 4 of it? Yeah, it's just 4 of it.
Oh, yeah, because it's
I don't know how many you need
more.
down there.
Yeah, still more. Yeah, thank you.
And that first, nope, the first one is the.
So it's,
The first pile.
Oh, so this is all, got it.
All minutes.
Okay, so you want,
Minutes and the policy.
and then,
What is,
so these are the policies and then this is a packet of all the same, and then each of those is individual, right?
So it's a copy of the 4 policies, and that right there, those are all the minutes.
so but
Yeah.
these minutes are on the agenda already,
And
correct?
that's what those minutes are.
Okay.
So the
So
agenda.
this is just a-
P&G are
Does anyone, so.
The
does
minutes
anyone-
in the agenda are already on board docs for anyone who doesn't need a physical copy.
And these are
The
the
policies that
actual
are being presented tonight, I just have a physical copy of those 4
Okay.
policies if anyone
No,
needs
they're
the
all-
physical copy. And also a physical copy of the minutes if anyone needs a physical copy of that.
So. And is there only like one group of these?
Yeah, it's just those 4 policies.
So we just share? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, no, that's yours. You can have that. Yeah, no,
Oh,
you can have,
okay.
yeah.
Do you need a packet of the policies? Okay. So extra, thank you. Policies.
And I would just add for anybody who's watching at home, these are available on the website. You go to about and then library policies, just say maybe the title of each clearly because it's in the list.
Yeah, I think the title is in the minutes too.
So I was just giving everyone a second to get settled. So policy and governance met last evening. And we had a lot of discussion. After that discussion and the totality of the meeting itself, we end up reviewing 4 policies. Those 4 policies were the art exhibition policy, safety mission statement, well, I guess, which is a statement, and 3 policies, display and public notices policy, and a material selection policy. And I'm just gonna go right from the top to the bottom. And the, I guess, heaviest lift, I guess you could say, is the art exhibition policy. And for that, after a lot of discussion, and this is also a policy that has been carried over from last year's P&G committee as well. There's been a lot of work on this particular policy and getting clarity. And really, our recommendations are to promote engagement and encourage community participation and really clarity for submission guidelines. Myself, even last policy and governance committee and the committee that comprises this year really have the same understanding and what maybe some of the barriers are when it comes to the community being able to be engaged with just submitting art to the library, maybe as an individual community member or another group as well. That information, although we find that some staff maybe have a little bit more information than others. It really wasn't consistent. And we just want to make sure that these things are really easy for community members to find so they can, continue to have ownership and engagement in their library. So we thought the best course of action would be to separate the policies, have the art exhibition policy as it is. There was some clarity needed in the art at APL and other opportunities to exhibit art as well. And that's really what we wanted to clear up, as well as what were the submission guidelines, who were handling those submission guidelines. OPACA, are they responsible for all the exhibits? Are they not? Even when you come into the branch, if you are a patron, you want to, maybe you're interested in presenting some art at your local library, really making that really clear for people who did want to do that, and maybe a little bit clearer as well for even staff who do get those questions from community members in the library. So you have the art exhibition policy in front of you as well. So we thought the best course of action was to the two separate policies, and one, which is the one that you have, is the Albany Public Library Art Exhibition Policy, and also do an additional policy for art at APL specifically, because the curation for that goes through Alpaca Gallery, and that is a different, you would be dealing with them. And in the current policy, it was that the library is really, Albany Public Library are really the main curators and the ones who are handling all the submissions as it reads for art at APL altogether, their art program altogether, whether that's art at APL or other art pieces as well. So we've just wanted to have some more clarity in that, in understanding that art at APL is a specific program that is a partnership between Albany Public Library and Alpaca. And as far as any other art that you want to submit, maybe a process, that in a really a separate understanding that you could do that as well. So the amendment for that current policy would be just a simple name change, which is Albany Public Library Art Exhibition Policy. That's something that we will need to vote on from the board, but the recommendation from Policy and Governance Committee is to recommend that to the board for a vote for the adoption of the new title. In addition to that, and along with the art, is the creation of the art at APL policy. And that is not really going to be anything different as far as the verbiage as the information that's on the website, but really just specifying that Alpaca is really the ones who are handling the specific art at APL program. And it's really though they're who curating and who you need to be connected to for art at APL, that specific program. There are the curators for that. Also, in our exhibition consideration form would be very simple, streamlined process to have that available, created and available online for community members to just be able to have that and make a submission if they did, and that is independent of maybe a school or a different organization. So it's really accessible for anyone and everyone who was curious about that. And we already have an art exhibition reconsideration form that is available on the website. You have to do a little bit of clicking here and there, but we wanted to have that right available next to the art exhibition policies. Just like the material, I believe the material selection policy, there's the reconsideration form on the same line as the policy as well. So as far as the art, I'm going to go policy at a time and open it up for any discussions or anything that anyone has any questions on for the art policy.
I'll just add that when you're looking at the art exhibition policy, I think number 4 is essentially what started most of this discussion, which is to be considered for exhibition, artists must follow submission guidelines, which we weren't sure where those existed or lived or how anyone gets access to those or what they are. And then the library will determine the selection, content, arrangement, and location of all exhibitions, which it seems that art at APL actually lives outside of it appears that this policy was written either at a different time before that existed or about other art exhibits that exist. And so that is kind of how this discussion about putting them into the 2 separate categories that they are existed or started. And then where are the submission guidelines and how do we give people access to them?
And I'll
May I
add to that as well, which is the same discussion Policy and Governance had last year. The same research, same information still applied in reference to the availability of a hard set, guidelines that and procedure that a patron could just reference, anyone would be able to reference in regards to a submission.
May I speak to this? So the Art at APL program actually is under the art exhibition policy. It's not meant to be a separate, it's not a policy, it's just a program that falls under the art exhibition policy. And the library does determine where the curated shows exist, and Pine Hills was determined as the most appropriate location for art at APL back when this program was established. We do, I see, need submission guidelines to be made available on the website or more clearly available. I am not sure what that looked like in the past, but I would be happy to work with staff to develop submission guidelines so that it's more clear. The way that art exhibits have come to us, I'll use the example of Prisoners Legal Services art show that we had here in the large auditorium. That started with an email to me from the director of that program. Sometimes it starts with an email from an arts group or an arts organization to staff, whether it's the head of programs and partnerships, branch manager. Sometimes a school will reach out to a branch manager, and then it will be process will take place like from the point of that email to, be discussed and at our weekly services meeting. But anyway, I would offer that art at APL does not need to be, it should not be a separate policy because it's just a program under the art exhibition policy.
I guess to me, looking at the policy, then that is unclear, although I'm just now noticing the approved on date was 2013, which I guess was also the same year that art at APL was founded, and I wasn't putting that together. To me, that's unclear, and looking at the curatorial agreement between library and art at APL, or I'm sorry, between the library and OPACA, it seems like they are really in charge of the selection and curation.
They are, yes.
Which is not what this policy says, but it seems like there are other situations in which the APL.
Yeah, so in the case of art at APL, we've basically delegated the curation to OPACA Gallery. So art at APL is not, it's not a permanent program. It's funded year by year, and it's an agreement that takes place year by year. So it is not, it could go away if the funding goes away. And that's why it's a program that adheres to this policy, but it is not, it's not a forever program. I hope that's been helpful.
So I would turn to council. What would be the appropriate verbiage to accurately reflect that APL is technically outsourcing the curation and they're handling, for example, submissions or just the curation process altogether. And it is after their curation process, do they then work with the library or bring that art, to the library, and there's more partnership as far as that goes. But the initial curation, selection guidelines are in Alpaca's purview, and then it's kind of like hand off. I understand it's a program. What would be the accurate verbiage to describe that? Because as it reads, it seems.
Right, so I don't think you want to get into too much detail with the art exhibition policy, because like Andrea said, it's subject to change. So it could be just minimal revisions that the curator, whoever, we don't even need to put Alpaca, name Alpaca necessarily in the policy itself, but we can just say that the curator has discretion in choosing the art to be exhibited in the library. I think I don't have much of a background on the art at APL program or the art exhibition policy, so I think I would need a little bit more background as to how exactly that works and how exactly to frame that into the policy. I'm happy to have discussions so that I have more of a background to make sure that the policy accurately reflects the process at APL. But I don't think you want to get to too many nitty-gritty details because you don't want to be updating the policy every single year, and you don't want the policy to become necessarily too outdated.
Which is, no, absolutely. It definitely makes sense. It's just that as it reads, it's not what's actually taking place because it's stating that APL is handling this selection process, is essentially the curator. And that is, at this point, that's being handed off to someone else. And as far as submission guidelines, that's something that's also not very clear or listed in reference to what are those, that's a public facing document or public facing that community members can reference to say, hey, I want to submit, I want to participate, and work with my local library. Hey, okay, well, I know these are the submission guidelines. I know this is what, within the parameters that I can work to be able to submit to APL. And
Right, so I think that once I have more of a background of exactly what that process entails and have more of a discussion with whomever at the library has that information, I would be able to create some and draft language to accurately reflect the process at the library, so that it's clear to the public that either the library and or the curator, who seems to be some sort of subcontractor of the library, has that discretion to choose the submissions.
And as far as the process with the other art at APL, the formation of the art consideration form is part of the recommendations from P&G committee. So as it stands, it's just a, hey, as she stated, you can email someone, and maybe that's how some conversations get started. But there are also the occasions where you'll come in and you come to staff, and that's kind of a dead end when asking staff and inquiring about how to submit art to your local library. And I personally have had that experience. So there isn't really a formalized process that, from my research, from previous P&G's research and the current research that, we have an understanding, we have that's something that is like a formalized process. That's something that the, patrons can trust in, and something that is public facing that they can see and understand. So.
I guess my concern, again, I think, Mackenzie, once you have a chance to look over more closely, because I mean, and I just glanced at this curatorial. And so I think once you have a chance to look at that, you can advise us in that regard. My concern about this is that if our policy is stating that the library is doing the selecting and the curating, and it's actually a different entity in terms of protections for the library, I'm just curious what would happen if, APACA walks in with this exhibit and it causes some great controversy, or there's some major issue, like.
We have a process for, yeah, absolutely. This is a collaboration between the library and APACA Gallery. So each time there's a new show, there's communication back and forth about the content of the show, about what's going on, what the theme is. This is a working partnership that we've had with the APACA Gallery. And yeah, I think, the point here seems to be about submission guidelines just in general for everyone to understand how artwork comes to be in the library. So I get that. And I think that that's an area where we can make an improvement. But the agreement we have with APACA falls under the art exhibition policy and our other policies for, having an appropriate show in the space.
Oh, I would say we'll wait to Mackenzie to do her research and to find the language that would be reflective to the art exhibit to speak to everything that was discussed today.
I think we still can vote on the creation of a art consideration form as far as that goes, because that has nothing to do with reworking. It's just a matter of just some wordsmithing to make sure it's understood that, it's not specifically the library at times, who's doing some of this process. So I don't think that's a, huge deal, but we still need to have some sort of process for a forum or something for people to submit their, artwork or whatever it is that needs to happen.
I think that would be more of a procedural item that would go on the website, similar to the materials reconsideration form. We can bring something forward to the Policy and Governance Committee for consideration. But I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure what would be voted on tonight. I mean, it's
So as simple as the board is in agreement that we're going to create, that you guys will create an art consideration form to add to the website right there next to the policy, right next to the art reconsideration form. So as well as we have a reconsideration when you have art taken down and hey, I have a grievance, I want this, back up. These are my reasons why. It seems to be should as well be that other contrast where you have a form that anyone would be able to submit if they have art that they would like to submit.
Mhm. I'm noticing, okay.
So you're saying that it could be readily available, like it's
Right.
accessible, like you don't have to go looking for
Right.
consideration is right there.
Right. So as far as
On the
an art
website.
consideration form, so if I walk in, to the library, I'm at home, I have something that I want to submit to the library for consideration to be displayed. You can be an individual, you can be a group, you can be your local neighborhood association, you can be anybody. And it's more of a very like open, transparent process. Say, hey, this is how you do it. Take the form, print it out, give it to your, local library, detailing your submission, essentially really the same questions that would be on the reconsideration form as well. I would think it would be somewhere along that same lines of the same format as the reconsideration form.
Mhm. So, with respect to the president and the vice president, I'm seeing that there are 4 policies here
Yes.
for review.
I was going to table it until, I was going to table that in interest of time because we still have to do our executive session.
Mhm.
Thank you.
May I also make a request to the Policy and Governance Committee Chair that that Assistant Director Melanie Metzger and myself be included in the next committee meeting so that we can help inform these discussions.
Well,
So
I'm
as discussed,
going to address that one. We're going to, you'll have that conversation with the chair, but right now we're not going to get into that one right now. So and like I said, in interest of time, I like to
we can move on to the next policy.
move on to like we'll table the other policies, chair.
Oh, well, they're just a matter of, it's just very straightforward. It's just a matter of changing one word. So it's not anything that's in depth. It's just a matter of consistency within the policy and they're very short. We can move on to the next one, which is the safety mission statement. And for that one, our recommendation was just simply to change customers to the public to make it consistent throughout the policy. And that was the only change for that. I'm sorry, customers, the public, and staff to employee. So it would be consistent throughout that mission statement. So that's pretty straightforward. We would only need a second and then a vote.
If I may, part of what needs to happen with policy review is the library needs to review the policy as well and see if there's anything that would help if we were to suggest changes
So
as well.
thank you. So what we'll do, I'll continue to go through these policies. They'll be up. If anyone has any issues or discussion, they'll be up next on the exact same, with the exception of the art policy. The same changes or whatever suggestions are going to be the same suggestions, and we'll be voting on for the next board meeting. But I am going to finish going through these next two policies because it's very short. So as I said, the safety mission statement only change that policy and governance is submitting is a change from customers to the public and also staff to employee. Display and public notices policy. With that one, just to update the previous name, which was Library, Friends and Foundation, to the updated name of the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library. That is their current name. The material selection policy, the policy itself, it was reviewed and there no action taken on that, but the same suggestion in reference to the art policy where there would be a material selection consideration form added to the website and readily available, and the right next to the material selection reconsideration form that is on the website and right next to the materials selection policy. So those are the only things that we have. Those three things will definitely be on the agenda as far as policies goes to be voted on next board meeting.
Okay. So if everybody would just review their materials.
Right.
And if you have any questions, trustee Barnum.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a request when we look at this next time. Could we get I think it's customary to have the red line versions, just so we're not searching and like highlighting. That would be my only request is, yeah, like you said, pretty simple, but just so we can efficiently see right where the changes are. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
trustee.
Absolutely.
Today. All right, thank you. So any public comment? Okay, no public comment. All right, someone like to make a motion to go into executive session? To
Executive
Yes.
session, yes.
Yes.
I move to go into executive session.
Yes, to discuss council.
We just need a second. Wes second? Did you second?
I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought so.
This is just for executive session?
Yeah.
Yes,
I second the motion to go.
yes. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're in executive session. Yeah, we were talking about you.
If you could just email me, that would be great. Right, so just so we're clear, it's not really with this one, the only hang up is that it's really stating that like APL handles everything. So just making it actual general policy to give us the room to.
Okay, for all of you at home, we are going into executive session. The board will come out of executive session and vote if anything needed to be voted on at that time. Those will be
I
reflected in the
apologize in a letter.
minutes.
Yeah, this is.
Form or something that would detail what those guidelines are.